I want to bring in a man who I have some of the greatest respect for. It is my friend Warren Moon. He joins us now here. Warren, am I right when I say that about the Vikings?
I don't know. You still got to go out there and play the game, but there definitely was a home field advantage when they played at the old Metropolitan Stadium outdoors because it was really cold during the playoffs, and most teams didn't want to come in there and play in that weather. The Vikings didn't even want to come in there and play in that weather, but you got to remember they had these guys called the Purple People Eaters that were pretty good players. They had Paul Krause back there. They had Fran Tarkington at quarterback. I mean, they had some really good players, so that was part of the reason why they went to all those Super Bowls. But there's no question the home field advantage playing outdoors helped them as well.
I don't know, playing indoors in Minneapolis or playing in Edmonton. I got a feeling playing in Edmonton was a little –
we had a distinct advantage, too, when we played our home games in Edmonton because teams didn't want to come in there and play in that minus 40 degrees Celsius, believe me.
Okay, help me out here. Let's start in Seattle. The turnaround of Geno Smith has been one of the greatest stories, Warren. This year, this guy was left for dead. He throws for 30 touchdowns, over 4,200 yards. He leads the NFL in completion percentage. What was the minus touch that Pete Carroll did to turn this guy back into what everyone thought we saw when he came out of West Virginia? What was it?
Well, I think it's kind of like osmosis. He's been around some really great quarterbacks as a backup here the last 10 years. He spent time behind Eli Manning in New York. He spent time behind Phillip Rivers in San Diego. He spent time behind Russell Wilson in Seattle. So looking at all those guys and seeing how they did things, because they were all the ultimate professionals, they were all very successful. And one of Geno's weaknesses was never his physical ability. It was his mental capability, and he was very immature. So I think he really matured during those years. I think he saw how these guys handled themselves, how professional they were, how they prepared for games, how they handled themselves off the field. And he combined all that with the great physical gifts that he still has, and he's put together a really great season. I think he fits this offense better probably than Russell did last year. And he's really done a good job with their offensive coordinator, and he's been very, very successful this year. So, and he also has some really good receivers to work with in Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf, and that helps.
Warren, tell me how important the relationship with not just your receivers, but everybody in the locker room, because, you know, there was a lot of things said about Geno in both New York locker rooms, and there was a lot of things that maybe, you know, didn't go his way because he wasn't a people guy. We see guys like Carson Wentz, people make comments that he likes half the room. How important is that to expand that relationship beyond your receivers and your offensive guys? And how did you do that too? Was it important for you to know all 47 guys that were in your locker room?
It's extremely important for the quarterback to know that, because you want these guys to believe in you, and they're not going to just believe in you by what they see you do in practice every day or what you do in the meeting room. They want to get to know you as a person. They want to know you care about them, and you have to give a little piece of yourself to every part of the football team. And that's something I worked very hard at doing, even though I was at a time in my life when I came to Houston. You know, I had 3 kids and a family at that time, and the thing I wanted to do at the end of the day was get home to my family. But I also knew there were certain nights that if the defensive backs were getting together, I went and hung out with the defensive backs. If the offensive linemen were meeting at some nasty ice house somewhere and having drinks after practice, I went by there, and I didn't even drink at that time, and I'd sit there and have a cranberry juice just to spend time with them. So those are things you have to do as a quarterback, and that was something I talked to Russell Wilson about when he was here in Seattle, just giving more of yourself to the rest of the team and not isolating yourself away from them, because they want to know that you're with them. So when crunch time comes in a game, they want to be behind you.
Warren, I'm not going to throw shade on Russell, but I'm going to say this, and I'm going to expand the conversation out. When you have the success that you've had, Dan Marino, Montana, Brady, Peyton Manning, how hard is it to sometimes to look up and all of a sudden you forget you're a football player and the outside noise starts to come into you building your brand, you wanting to make sure you get more money? And I think that kind of hit the way I see it as an outsider, I don't know. I'm not in the room there with Russell Wilson, but he seems, as he's gotten along in his career, that it seems like a different dude from when he first came into the league to where he is now. Is that a fair assessment, that there's just other things now, that there's priorities in his life? And I wonder if football's a main priority.
Yeah, I think that happens with all guys over time. You know, he's been in the league 11 years now. He's got a family now that he didn't have when he first came in the league. He's got 3 kids, and this is an era where you can start to build your brand because of social media. I didn't have that luxury when I was playing, but there's no question I tried to take advantage of my popularity by doing endorsements and things off the field. But you have to have a balance in there. You have to make sure you're not doing too much that takes away from your preparation for games. You have to make sure you're not doing too much that takes you too far away from being away from your family too much, and also that takes you away from your training and all those different things that go along with getting ready for the season. So balance is very important when it comes to any professional athlete playing, and to make sure you keep everything in stride, and to make sure you never forget what butters the bread, which is your ability to play and perform on the football field every weekend. And I think Russell has gotten away from that a little bit, and I think this season has humbled him a little bit, and I think you'll see him be a little bit more dedicated to what's most important. Even though he's always been a very, very hard worker, mentally, sometimes you're not into it as much if you're thinking about other things. If you're thinking about this next video you're going to do, or this next endorsement deal you're going to do, or what am I going to say when I post my next post on Instagram? You know, those things can kind of take away from your focus. So you want to make sure the focus is in the right place when you're working to get ready for football.
Do you agree that this is probably Pete Carroll's best coaching job since they won the Super Bowl?
It's got to be one of his best, Dan. He has really taken a roster that most people thought would be one of the worst in the league this year. I think they were rated 32nd in the league coming into it by Pro Football Focus, and that. He's got 5 rookies starting on this football team, and they are all performing. I mean, he's got the leading interceptor in the league. He's got a guy. He's got both of his offensive tackles are rookies, which is unheard of in this league. You've got a defensive end who's got 7.5 sacks. I mean, he's just got players that not only are they rookies, but they're performing at a very, very high level. And then he's got a quarterback that everybody kind of said was left for dead, and he's in the Pro Bowl. So, yes, this is probably one of his best coaching jobs. He's got this team in the playoffs, and he's playing a team he's very familiar with, the San Francisco 49ers. Even though they're playing great, when you play a division team in the playoffs, anything can happen because you know each other so well.
Yeah, your point here, Woolen is up for the Defensive Player of the Year award, and then you've got, of course, Kenneth Walker III, who's probably going to be the Offensive Rookie of the Year. I mean, he's been a godsend from Michigan State.
Yeah, just a great job by John Snyder of drafting guys, and a great job of by Pete of developing these guys and getting them ready to play on Sundays. And this team is right there where they want to be in the playoffs.
Warren, what was the number one thing? And I want to talk to you a little bit about Jalen Hurts here. The Eagles are in a bye this week. When you came into the league, and I'm talking NFL, your first year compared to your third year, how much did you improve in the passing game, or was it other things that you had to improve in? Because I don't know if even Josh Allen, Warren, I mean, the improvement that Jalen has had this year from last year to this year has been remarkable. How have you been impressed with it also?
I've really been impressed with it. And the thing I think he's improved mostly on is his fundamentals. You know, he just wasn't one of those pure passers when he came into the game. He was a great athlete playing quarterback, and now he's turned himself into more of a polished NFL quarterback because of his fundamentals, his footwork, all the different things that go along with throwing the football. And I think because of that, he has much more confidence when he goes back to throw the football. He's not only going to his first read or second read, now he's even looking at his third and fourth read, something he never did before. It was always look at the first guy, and then he was taken off and gone. Didn't have confidence in sitting in that pocket and staring down all of his guys. So he is totally evolving, and he's going to just keep getting better. And it's scary if you see this guy continue to get better, because he's a really good player right now. And any more improvement, who knows what type of player he's going to be.
Warren, you never really relied on your legs, though. And here's what I've been saying. And maybe it's a different NFL. You're around it a lot more. And maybe you educate me here on this. I don't think these dual threat quarterback guys have long careers. I mean, and the reason I say that, I mean, Trey Lance played one game. K1, we won't see him till next October. Kyler Murray, RG3. When you use your wheels, look at Lamar Jackson. He's constantly missing. Jalen missed some games this year. Am I right when I say that? It's difficult to build around a dual threat guy because, I mean, the formula is they use their wheels to get third down and break down the perimeter and to wake it on third down, but they also use their arm. Am I right when I say it? It's hard to build a team around a dual threat guy.
Well, you can, but that dual threat guy has to be much more careful and selective with how he runs the football. You look at Russell Wilson, for example. He was a guy that used his legs a ton his first 10 years in the league, and you never saw him get hurt because he was very smart about getting down on the ground, about getting out of bounds when he had a chance to do it, and not taking guys on too much. And I think if you're smart about it and using that gift that you have, use the gift to your advantage, but don't try and overpower people with it. Josh Allen is another guy, because he's a big, strong guy. He's gotten away with a lot of things, hurdling guys and different things like that. But at some point, if he keeps playing as recklessly as he does sometimes, he's going to get hurt too, even as big as he is. You look at Cam Newton, how big he was. His body is basically beat up right now, and he's out of the game at 32 years old. So you just have to be smart at how you do it. And you can definitely use that gift of your legs to be just another added weapon to your arsenal, but you don't want to take on too much punishment if you don't have to. Otherwise, you will have a shortened career like some of these other guys have.
Two last questions for you, Warren. The coaching that you get. Look at Trevor Lawrence this year with Doug Peterson compared to Urban Meyer a year ago. I mean, when you were at certain places, were you coached better and you were more productive? Man, once you got up to Minnesota, you put up huge numbers. Not that you didn't when you were down in Houston, because you pretty much put up huge numbers everywhere, but that was a prolific offense when you were up in Minnesota. And again, the Houston Oilers offense, with all the receivers you had and all those guys running around, it was really productive. But look at the difference. I'm pretty shocked that in the league today, look at Josh Allen. He gets better coaching from Wyoming when he had Brian Dable up there. How important is it to have that coordinator that knows how to utilize your assets?
Well, it's very important. I think you see more coordinators and head coaches taking advantage of what their quarterback does best. They're looking at what he had success with in college, incorporating those things into the offense so he'll have earlier success and familiarity with what he's doing, and then he'll just build off of that. But another thing that also helps is having good players around you. You can't be a good quarterback unless you have good talent around you, and that's something that, as the talent grew around me, I got better as well. So the combination of offense fitting what you do best with your skill set to go along with the personnel that you have around you should make you a much better player.
I know you're taking on San Francisco this week, and have you been impressed with what Kyle Shanahan has done with three different quarterbacks?
Yeah, I mean, Kyle is one of the best designers of plays and also best play callers in the league, and he's working on his third quarterback now, and this Josh Purdy kid, and he's been impressive, and a lot of that has to do with Shanahan, but also a lot of it has to do with Josh Purdy as far as being a guy who could take what they're teaching him. He had to be in the background for the first 12, 13 weeks of the season and watch everything happen. So he was actually paying attention and staying on top of everything. So when his number was called, he was ready to walk in there and play, and that's a big part of it too. So it's impressive what's going on in San Francisco. They have a great defense. So as a young quarterback, you don't have to worry about having to carry the load or come from behind and win a football game, because your defense is going to always keep you in it. They run the ball as well as anybody in the league. So now all you have to do as a quarterback is make good decisions, get the ball in your playmakers' hands, and hopefully you guys don't fall behind by too many points where you have to try and bring the team from behind.
Are you a Viking or Oiler?
I'm a Titan, I am a Viking, I am a Chief, and I am a Seahawk. I mean, I follow all the teams that I played for, and I follow them very closely. Now, when they play against each other, I have to make a decision. But right now, those are the 4 teams that I really root for in the league.
Warren, Crescent Moon, are you doing anything right now? I know you guys are doing so much stuff with your foundation, and you're so giving to the communities everywhere you've played, like you said, especially down in Houston. Got a lot of friends down there. You got anything on the agenda right now?
I still have my scholarship program going with Crescent Moon and Brothers in Arms, and we have our golf tournament coming up here in April, and we'll be making more announcements on that as it gets closer. But we just picked our scholarship class for this year. We have 5 excellent students from the Houston area, and really proud about their prospects for the future to go along with the others that we've been naming over the last few years.
Well, you'll always be an Oiler to me. Hey, Warren, hey, thank you so much, man. My friendship with you means a lot, and you're so giving to us, and I thank you so much. God bless you, man. Have a great call this weekend.
All right, Danny. Thank you. Happy New Year to you, and look forward to talking to you maybe during the playoffs sometime.
You got it. Thank you so much. The legendary Hall of Famer, Warren Moon. And as I say this to you, CFL Hall of Famer, College Football Hall of Famer, NFL Hall of Famer as well. We'll take a brief time out. Please hit the like button. Keep it here on the National Football Show.